I find it very interesting that you would first copy and then piss on the Wall Street occupiers, because the thing is, they do have agendas, and they were published, and it was put on, and it was even put on a news channel. They would like for they do have specific agendas. Many of them want more taxes to big businesses, so that because guess what? I mean, the top amount, the richest people are paying the least amount, are carrying the smallest burden on their backs for the taxes. That's what a lot of these people are worried about. Because we could continue on and be a very successful nation with very minuscule increases in tax budgets. With a very minuscule increase in the taxes, we could do much better. More taxes, as long as we just stuck with it instead of cutting taxes to the rich. We should definitely cut taxes to the poor. They don't have very much money to give anyway. But instead, more of the poor get taxed, and less of the rich get tax cuts, tax breaks. They're on top of that, they are successfully evading taxes. Google, in particular, also successfully evades taxes because of many different locations of certain things. Also, other places successfully evade taxes because of many different locations around the world, and they switch out inventory between all sorts of different places in the world so that they can say that they don't have it. Successfully evading taxes, and then on top of that, getting tax cuts. This is one of the things that Occupy Wall Street is angry about, because these companies are really pulling in as much money as they can and not giving any of it back to the economy. Well, not some of it. They will pay their workers. That's about it. And they don't. It's not. And because the economy is having problems, they're retaining more money. That's the biggest problem when the economy is having problems, is that the big business people want to spend less money because they want to have some sort of security. The problem is that money needs to be spent when there is a problem with the economy, so that the economy can keep moving. If money isn't moving, the economy isn't moving, the economy has worse problems. And the rich people are the ones that need the money either needs to be spent, or it needs to be taxed to the government, which will spend it. Oh, the government will spend. No matter who's in charge, the government will spend. And that's a thing that people have a problem with. The government spending too much. It's spending too much. Where's the money going? Into the economy, building it up. That's what happens when government spending. It's not being spent in the right places. I will agree with that. But when money is being spent into the economy, unlike the money that was spent by Bush, which was spent for a war, which doesn't go into the economy. When money is spent from the government or from any source into the economy starts flowing better, because that's what economy is, the flow of money. If you tell the government stop spending, then you're telling the government stop feeding the economy. Now, what you could do is tell the government to spend on things that will also feed back. And that would work great. Invest. Tell the government to invest instead of just spend. That should be what it does. Invest. But it can't just stop. And that's another. And the problem is, the government is not. If the government doesn't have as much money, it can't spend as much money. If there was more taxing, if there was even the temporary tax that was thrown out there as an idea by some, I can't remember what his name. I don't consider him a real presidential candidate, but he threw out an idea of a temporary tax on the rich that was a pretty big tax, considering the rich doesn't like to pay anything as far as the tax. You say 1%. I don't know. Because they're avoiding it anyway. It's all not all rich people, of course, but a lot of rich people are being crafty and avoiding and hiding their assets and all of that anyway. And then, on top of that, getting tax cuts. That's one of the main things that I think that one is part of the Occupy Wall Street. Now, there's lots and lots of other things. There are people who are genuinely calling for true capitalism. And while I don't think that there's any real benefit or loss, just differences between capitalism and communism. Really, there's not. Even though people say there is, it's not. You might be confused. People often confuse the government style with the economic style, because capitalism has nothing to do with not being a democratic nation. Democracy and capitalism are two different types of things. Democracy is about the type of political system. Capitalism is about the economic system. Under capitalism, there would be every business would pretty much be government owned. The major problem I see with that is that it would pretty much be a government monopoly. So the government has room to become the biggest and worst corporation ever. But the idea is actually supposed to be fighting against the corporations. Well, it doesn't usually work, but it's not. But all the oligopolies and hidden monopolies that aren't really prosecuted in the United States really don't seem to be. Well, they're a little bit better. I'm going to say it's a little bit better if we keep capitalism. It's the lesser of evils for now. But I can understand where they are coming from, calling for communism. People who are hurting usually do, because they think that if they can get the people who understand their point of view into office and get communism in, then no one's going to be exploited anymore. But especially knowing politicians, people are going to exploit this, or would like to exploit this, in order to get communism in place and then be able to just get all the money for themselves, get all the money for the government. But there do need to be more regulations and more there does need to be more redistribution of wealth. Because, honestly, people need to pay what they can pay in order to keep this country moving. That means the rich need to pay more. They just do. It makes sense. The rich pay more percentage-wise than the poor. Makes sense. Because they have more money. Overall, they're not going to be in the hole. They're not going to be worried about where they're getting food from. Now, I'm not saying they have to pay exorbitant amounts to the point where they are not rich anymore. I'm not saying we need to make all of the rich poor and make everyone on the same level, because then you don't get the kind of opportunity that many Americans love to have. But I am saying that this is one of the things that Occupy Wall Street wants, is that they want the redistribution of money such that the rich are not just being so tyrant-some to the American public. But a lot of them, I will admit, are going too far and too deep into socialism and communism. Socialism in itself not being necessarily a bad thing either, despite what people may say. And this has been Mav on this evaluation that most people will disagree with in America. See you.